Hey everyone, welcome back to my garage. A couple weeks ago I was talking about a bunch of dumb little projects I had going on, and one of those projects was fixing the turn signals on Jessica, the voluptuous Victory. So I mentioned on a Facebook group that I was working on these things, and I got an overwhelming response. Now, if you're a follower of the channel, you know that an overwhelming response for me would be like 6 people, right? But overnight, I got like 20 comments saying, yeah, absolutely, we are interested in these files because you can't get these things anymore and whatnot. We'll get into that in a little bit. So I had to do fork seals on the bike, and I ended up taking the front end apart to get the forks off and all that. And while I was doing that, I saw that the turn signals were kind of old and crusty and dried up. Now this is nothing new. Years ago, I noticed especially the two on the right side of the bike, the front and rear, were both, the rubber parts were kind of cracked, sagging a little bit. I think this is because in the first couple years of this bike's life before I had it, it was stored outside next to a garage or in a driveway. And I think that's the side the sun was hitting on it. And then, so the rubber on that side of the bike dried up faster. Here's the original speedometer, and you can see how cooked it was inside. Is it focusing? And that's from the sun going through the glass on that thing. So then throughout its life, as you know, normal wear and tear, the rubber on the right side of the bike just I don't know, went away a little faster. But it is a 2006, so the bike's got a few years on her now. Now I had before put a little silicone in the cracks and wrapped some tape around them. It was clear at the time, and then it turned white or whatever. And that lasted for years and years and years that way. But now I'm looking at them going, it's got to be something I can do. You can't buy these anymore. One person did send me a eBay link for some aftermarket ones that do look very close to the rear ones. And if they're the same on the inside, I suppose you could pay $50 for one set of the rear ones just to get those rubber things, but that doesn't help me with the front. Now, if down the road I got to buy some aftermarket ones or spend some money, well, so be it. But for now, what I want to try and do is print new rubber pieces. All right, the first thing we need to do is take the chunks and pieces of the old turn signal and put them together, take some preliminary measurements, all right? Then we can go into Tinkercad and make some of these shapes that we need to assemble into the final thing. And what I originally came up with was this. It is reasonably close to everything. Fits in, it's got the grooves for the thing to go down, whatever. So that's that. And these orange ones, these are printed in PLA just because it's faster and cheaper. I save the expensive stuff for the good ones. I refined it a little bit with the shape around the thing. I added this corner that fits more on the clamp. I added this nub here where the wires go through, and that fits in the little channel so that once it's screwed all together it won't be able to twist. And I moved the center hole over a little bit to line up better with where they needed to go. After that, I refined it just a little bit more. Oops. Okay, this was the one. This was the second one. This one with the corner was refined it just a little bit more. And there you go. Yeah, okay. So I added some grooves in there so that when I glue the nut in place, it'll have something physical for that glue to bite into. And it fits on there fine, and I fixed the shape just a little bit more. Hey, Poof. No. Okay, all right, this isn't working. This isn't. Okay, that's, yep, I know. No, that's, oh, okay, you know what, we're gonna have to do this later. No. See? No, no. When you take the turn signal off your bike, there's a screw in the back here, and that holds the lens on. The lens hooks in on the other side, pulls off like that. And you got your bulb in there, and you got your thing. Don't just pry up on this piece, and here's why. So you got to kind of get under it, a little screwdriver or a tweaker or something. And be very careful with it. And you want to come straight up at this end. It doesn't fold up like the lens did, because there's these two teeth right here. These are just plastic. All right, they go down into slots, and that's what kind of holds this whole thing in. So if you just pry up on this, you're going to break these teeth off. And even if you re-glue those, I mean, they're so thin, they're not going to stay. And then there'll be two wires connected here and here. It's your positive, it's your negative, and the wires go through the little hole there, and they come out. That's how to take your turn signal apart without breaking it. That slides out. Okay. Sadly, if you're on the fence about replacing these, you got to destroy them to get that piece out. Da, 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 da. Hey, they even work. All right, we got some talky bits we got to go through. Now, if you've watched my videos before, you know a lot of them are just me doing something, and I kind of show you what I'm doing, how I'm doing it. Maybe you're interested in that. Maybe you just like having something on in the background so you can fall asleep. I don't know. This project, I genuinely want to help you if you're also doing this project. All right? So here's some things. First of all, let's talk about the thing I made, the thing I drew. The final product of this is made from NinjaFlex brand TPU. TPU stands for poly urethane something. Feels sort of rubbery. My final one, I ended up doing a 4-layer perimeter wall thickness with a 40% grid style infill. Four-wheeler going down the street. And what that gave me was a pretty good feel as far as flexibility compared to the original rubber back when it was soft. And I'm pretty happy with it. You can push on it, you can bend it, you can flex the turn signal on the bike a little bit, and it feels like original stock, if that makes sense. I had an aftermarket turn signal around here somewhere. I don't know. The pros and cons of using the TPU. Pro number one is it's the rubbery feel like I wanted. A con to it is this. Now, if you print something out of a hard plastic, this is PLA, the supports that you need to put underneath it, they pull right off. Harder plastic, you can sand, you can file, you can prime and paint if you want. The TPU, because it's rubbery, you get the little end bits on there. They're harder to get off and sand off. It doesn't sand. You can kind of go with a blade a little bit, so it's harder to clean. You end up with a little bit of a rough edge. Now these, because of the stripes, I didn't want to print them like this because then there would have been supports all inside the thing. And this was an important area because this is where the lens or the light cup slides down into. So I ended up printing it in this orientation right here, with prints on the bottom. So this little curved side is a little rougher. Now I got mine to where I'm happy with them from 2 feet away. I think they look fine. If you have like a show quality bike, you might want something a little nicer. You'll either have to work harder at the post-production on the things, or you could decide to just go with the easier to do, harder plastic. I would recommend a PETG, maybe even an ABS. PLA isn't as water or chemical resistant, so there you go. If you use the harder plastic, then if you bump your turn signal, especially in the back, around your saddlebags or whatever, the weakest point of your turn signal is then going to be that plastic chromed outer cover, backing. That's going to break before anything else. And I feel like that's harder to do. So you could print these thinner. Maybe they break easier than that. There's some toss up there. But if you want it nice solid. The other thing is, here's the deal. When I made these, I made them and sized them so that it's a nice, solid, snug fit into the pieces, into the things. If you do a hard plastic one, the files I made, I can tell you right now, on the front ones, these two little corners right here, you're going to have to file down just a bit for them to slide into the turn signal piece. They make it nice and snug when it's the flexible rubber. The harder it's going to go in. Same thing with the rear ones. The rear ones going into the hole in the fender, this might not be as exact. You may need to do some sanding, some filing. But as the flexible rubber, it went in there nice and snug. So that's what I kept with because that's what I was doing. Some people said, hey, you should be making these and selling these. Here's why I'm not, and that's because they are good for this project. They're good, I think. If you want to get into this project, they might be an option for you. But if you're charging money for something to anybody, no matter how cheap, no matter how many times you tell them, hey, look, this is just kind of, we're figuring out still, whatever, it's a different level. I don't know, if you're charging $1, people are still paying money and they really need to be perfect. That's just how it is. And these aren't perfect. There are issues. Like I said, with the TPU, you got layer lines. I did print one on super fine layer lines. These are printed 0.2 layer height, which is kind of big. But I did a fine one on a 0.1 layer height, 0.2 layer height, 0.1 layer height. You kind of, I don't know if you can see in there, it's about the same. But on the 0.1, where the supports were, it's actually super hard to get off. They kind of ripped off. On the other one, these ones, they're super hard to get off. It kind of made it worse. So I stuck with the 0.2 layer height for mine. So they're not perfect, but they might be perfect enough for you. I'm going to put the files up on Thingiverse and Prusa Printables. Those are the two sites I ever go on. I'll put a link to them in the description of this video. I'll put a link to this video on the description to them on those sites if I can. While I've got you, if you've enjoyed this video, please give me a like. Comment on anything you think I could do to improve these. If you end up using these, whether you just use the file for the end that fits in, whether you draw your own middle part with a cool logo on it or something, I'd love to see it. I really would. It'd make me happy. I don't know if the other camera's recording or not. Just said the temperature's too high. Again, thanks for watching. I had a fun time on this project, and if it's something you're into, I hope you have a fun time on this project too. And I hope these files help you. If not, I apologize. But again, that's why I'm not selling them. Yeah, and maybe someday if I get them better, then maybe. But yeah, there you go. Thanks for watching Uncle Benny's Garage. Cheers.